I just need to make sure that the sound is working. It is, I think. Yeah, we are good to go. Hi, I'm Brian, and as we just heard in the introduction, I'm from Denmark. So if you hear any funny sentence constructions or misinterpretations or something, please bear with me because, I hope you will understand still in the next 45 minutes. I'm going to talk to you about this experience in Fabric. Fabric is the new big thing in the market, and Kusto is a bit of a beast. So I'll try to help you understand what it is and how to get around it, and also how to juggle billions of rows in Power BI without even lifting a finger. But we'll get there sooner or later. If you have any questions during this session, just please raise your hand or toss something at me. I'll have your question when we get through it. Okay, great. Welcome again. Switched now. No? Or not? Yeah. I'm Brian, and my last names are Danish, but I'll pronounce it once to you, and I won't. Brian, and there you go. So I'm the principal architect of I'm the principal architect of data and AI in a company called Fairmind. So I'm not from Microsoft, even though I'm a Microsoft MVP and also a Microsoft certified trainer. I have a blog. You can find it. I just released yesterday or the day before a new blog, a new concept around real-time analytics, which is Kusto. I have a LinkedIn profile, of course, I have, and also a GitHub profile. On GitHub, you'll find the slides from this session later on, so you can just download them. It's an easy peasy way to find them. The repository is called slide decks, so I think you're good. Today, I will show you something about what is real-time analytics and Kusto and why do we have it in our world today. I will also dive into history. Where does it originate from? How did Microsoft invent this product? What's the Fabric experience? Where is it in Fabric and what do we see today? What did we just see 2 days ago at Microsoft Build? A short demonstration on how to juggle 1.5 billion rows in Power BI. It is quite easy. A cliffhanger here, don't use import mode. And if we have time for it, I only have 40 minutes, I'll do a perspective and patterns to you. Because we can also do the world's fastest medallion architecture load within a millisecond or two. But I don't think I'll be able to cover this, but you'll read it in the slides if you download them from GitHub. The first one, the real-time analytics and Kusto. Why is it in the world today? The world is exploding in data. The world is exploding in high granularity data. You have a smartwatch, you have a phone, you have a PC, you have a car, a smart car. A smart car today, I'm from Denmark, so I'm on the metric system. Whenever a smart car drives 5 kilometers, it generates 1 gigabyte of data. I don't know what is a kilometer in miles. I don't know. You'll make the math. But it generates a lot of data. That data needs to be streamed somewhere, right? So we're talking about streaming data, very granular data that is streaming all the time to anywhere in the world. It could be a thermometer at your home streaming data. We need to stream it somewhere. That is why we have the Kusto engine and the services on top of it, real-time analytics. Now it's called real-time intelligence in Fabric, and also Azure Data Explorer. But it all starts with data. No matter what we do, data is defining our strategies all around the business today. And some of this data is telemetry. Sorry for the white text there. And telemetry is just a buzzword. So in this slide, I've shown you some of the buzzwords that might be a candidate for you to use real-time analytics or real-time intelligence in Fabric. Smart buildings, IoT devices, security, historical connected devices, so forth, so forth, so forth. If you see some of these words in your organization, you might be a possible candidate for using real-time intelligence in Fabric. By the year 2025, Microsoft has predicted that we will have 75 billion connected devices to the internet. This is not a server. It's a connected device. It's a streaming device that needs to land its data somewhere. These streaming devices will generate no less than 90 zettabytes of data in the same year. Zettabytes, 100,000 terabytes. That's a small number, but yeah. So that is a huge amount of data volumes, and we need somewhere to handle that. Don't put it on a SQL server because that won't be funny. That won't be funny. So how do we start, and where does this originate? It actually originates from a couple of products that Microsoft built a few years ago. 10 years ago, they released the prequel that we have to today's log analytics. We also now have Azure Sentinel, we have real-time intelligence, we have Azure Graph, we have Microsoft Defender, and that's the smallest Microsoft product I have ever heard of called CMPeople. It's a small infrastructure product where you can do as a people look at like overview of your infrastructure in Azure. But all of these servers are using the same underlying engine, the Kusto engine, serving as the time series database for Microsoft. The name Kusto actually originates from Jacques Cousteau, who lived until 1997, and he devoted his life to explore the oceans. What happens in the oceans, what are the fishes, and all of his explorations is what we use today in our daily work. He also invented the personal, I don't have the right word, but the ability to breathe underwater with that mask. So that is his image. Sorry? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. And in the age of AI, I tried to make this in color, but yeah, you make the decisions. Yeah. So now we have, where does this Kusto things originate from? It last month it had a 10-year anniversary, and the capabilities are almost endless. This slide looks like, oh, this everything about it. Let me build a data warehouse there. No, please don't build a data warehouse there. It is not built for data warehousing. It's only built for streaming data, time series data, and all that stuff around it. Unlimited scale. Is there a limitation in Azure? Yes, theoretically there is, but I bet you can't fill up storage in Azure yet. Any data source, of course, if you have data sources, IoT devices, streaming data, it can be put into the Kusto engine, and the Kusto engine will absorb it no matter how fast you are streaming the data into it. It will save it, I guarantee, and it will also deliver it to you when you need it in real time or near real time. Because there's no such thing as real-time analytics, because as long as the event has happened, time has gone by. Right? So it's only near real time. Structured, semi-structured, free text, JSON, HTML, CSV, whatever format you have, you can hit it with it, but don't save pictures on it. Real-time transformation, I'll show you that in a minute. Streaming analytics, we'll talk about that. High performance, low latency, whatever data you have, put it there, it will save it. If you have ever worked with any time series database from non-Microsoft vendors, this is the solution to use. Everything is indexed and partitioned. I'll show you that also in a second or a minute. So if you want to get started for free, Azure Data Explorer at azure.com/free cluster, you get a free Azure Data Explorer cluster. It is more or less the same thing. With 2 gigabytes of data storage, that is quite enough because the data is compressed in a factor between 6 and 10. So you can optimally save 20 gigabytes of data in that cluster, and you will get the full Monty for that one. There's also gamification to learn the Kusto language, the KQL language, detectives of Kusto.io. If you have never ever written a Kusto query, it is a completely new language, a new scripting language. This gamification is perhaps the best gamification made to mankind to learn a new scripting language. Detectives of Kusto.io. It has just finished season 2. It has 2 seasons with a storyline, so please start at season 1. Great. You are so quiet. It's fine. And I love it. If you have any questions, just please interrupt me. It's fine. The Fabric experience. What happens in Fabric? Not Station Fabric, but I've seen this a few times before. But 4 days ago, Tuesday, 2 days ago, Microsoft had their Microsoft Build conference, and they announced that Data Activator is now merging into real-time analytics, and the name is changing to real-time intelligence. I still need to learn to say that. Real-time intelligence is now the umbrella of whatever you need to work with time series data, streaming data, IoT devices, telemetry, whatever, click services, and so forth. We also got the new real-time heat. On the blog decode.bi, you will see a run through of what I think about that thing. And then, of course, we still have the one things. If we zoom in on what we can do in real-time analytics, real-time intelligence today, of course, we can do the event ingestion, whatever events we have that is applicable to the service. They also released real-time analytics, so now we can do real-time dashboarding. We don't have to wait 30 seconds for Power BI to awaken and refresh the data. It can be now with a new real-time dashboarding service be visualized, updated to you within a millisecond or two. That was the one. Real-time triggers. If we need something to happen, if other things happen, we can do that also. Fabric enables us to do actions based on a streaming event coming in. We can start a pipeline, we can start a notebook, we could refresh a Power BI, we could create a new partition or something like that. Real-time AI. Every record that enters into the Kusto database can be scored against an AI model. Imagine that you have a predictive maintenance, perhaps a windmill, and then a gear makes a funny noise, and then you know you have to change the bearing. But that event needs to trigger something, perhaps based on an AI model, that this sound and this vibration needs to change this bearing, and then we can score that record towards an AI model and have events triggers based on the results from that model. Real-time replication, perhaps it makes sense because we can also send all the events onwards to another application, to perhaps a website, to help you select another product or an additional product for an upsell. And of course, we can send the events onwards. Perhaps you've seen this on the Microsoft slide. I have stolen it and copied it and make it white. This is an example of how you could architect your real-time analytics approach with the Kusto database. Right here we have the Kusto database, and we have different sources out here. We have the lakehouse, the warehouse. We have structured, unstructured data. We have event streaming. This is yes, I have a copy of the screen down there. Yeah. This is the event streams, the new service from Fabric, where we can stream data in with a click of a mouse. And this is the machine learning that I just talked to you about. The Kusto database is the underlying database for everything inside real-time intelligence. And if we need it, only if we need it, we can make a copy or logical mirroring of that data into our OneLake, a live copy. Even though you do a live copy into OneLake, you're only paying for the data storage once. It is quite a good thing to know. And of course, in the exposure, we can do Power BI, we can do a query set, which is just a select statement, and we can also run it through notebooks. Demonstration. Before I do the demonstration, I'll leave. Yeah, sure. Kusto is the underlying engine, and the offering on top of that is real-time intelligence, Azure Data Explorer, event streams, and so forth. So the Kusto is the underlying engine. Yes, you can. Then you just buy an Azure Data Explorer cluster out of your own money, and it is standardized clusters, and it starts with around 170 pounds per month per cluster node, and you need at least 2 cluster nodes. So 350 pounds a month to run those minimum cluster in Azure Data Explorer. So it is still far more cost effective to run it in Fabric. How many of you know SQL? Great. How many of you have written just one KQL query statement? Yeah. You like it? It's much better. It is the KQL script statement is what SQL should have been. It is way more easier to read, way more easier to write, way more easier to learn. What you need to know is every line of code is its own resource section. Because I'll show you in a minute, I'll show you some code, and just know that every line of code, I can select that line and all preceding lines and execute that as a statement. Then I can take the next line and execute that. So the debugging is also easy peasy. So imagine that I have a data set of 1.5 billion rows and I want a high performance. What do I need to do first? I need to filter it, right? So I need to filter it. And for each line of code, I need to do another filter, because the performance of the query is actually measured in or impacted by the end result set. Because the underlying engine and query optimizer and so forth actually reads what do you need, and then it propagates that back. So this imaginary funnel, the more steep you can make that based on your filters, the more effective KQL query statement you will get. So the more you can filter on top, the faster query you will get. Demo. Hopefully no demo ghosts. Let's see. This is Fabric. This is Fabric, and I've cheated a bit because I've already created a Kusto database because it takes more than a second. In the database, I've already loaded the New York City taxi dataset. If you don't know that, it is the yellow cab dataset from New York, and right now it has 1.6 billion rows. And it is streaming live today, this minute. And in the last 24 hours, I have got around 600,000 rows. The data size that I am paying in Fabric is 25 gigabytes. But the original size that came into this database was 335 gigabytes. So a compression rate around 7.42 with a quick math, or just look at the screen. In the overview, when I select the table, I can also see what are the columns and the data types and all other stuff. When the Microsoft build, they also announced the event house, which is just look at it as a server for your database. A server for your KQL database is now called the event house. And when you are creating a new KQL database today in Fabric, it will automatically be added to an event house. So now you will have the ability to do cross-database queries and all that stuff. But it's out of this scope for this session because I only have 20 minutes left. Imagine that we have 1.6 billion rows and we would like to handle this in Power BI. We don't do import because then we will have to wait for a year or something for that to happen, right? So we need to do other stuff. I can either build Power BI report, or I can do a query table, or I can delete the table. No, I don't want to do that. But I can also do other stuff. So if I select the Explore My Data button, let me go back so you can see it. Up here in the bottom right, top right, and this button called Explore Your Data. So I would like to explore my data. Now I just get an empty window, and if I have never, ever written a KQL statement before, I know how to do that in SQL. If I need all the rows from the New York City taxi table, it is select, if I could spell, select star from New York City taxi, right? If I were a SQL developer, I would write this query. But in this demo, I will not return 1.6 billion rows. So I will just do a select top 10, just for this. But if I don't know KQL, I can actually run this and it will return to me. The KQL engine understands SQL. So you don't have to learn KQL. Yes, you do. But once you get your SQL statement in place and the result set to you is what you need, you can actually get that translated back into KQL. Right on top of your SQL statement. You want to listen? Yeah. If I type explain on top of my SQL statement and execute this, the resource set is completely different. And if you want that shortcut, it is Shift Enter. Then I execute where I am. And let me unfold this so you can see it. Oops. There you go. And zoom a bit. Can I fit it? No, I can't, but it's fine. This from here and the rest of it is actually the full KQL statement as if I would have written it inside the KQL statement. Yeah. And I'm also learned a bit of best practices because you all know that select star is not something we all do, right? I never do it. But the custom engine learns us that don't do a select star. Please project the columns you need. So use a project function and select the columns you need. But I did a select star, so it selects all the columns for me. And then it does a take top 10 things. If I copy all of this out, copy, and paste it, and run it, I get the same results. So if I learn SQL, I can learn KQL by just hitting explain on top of it. One learning point. if I'm happy with this resource set or this query, I can build a Power BI report directly based on this query set. But I won't. I'll show you something else. Now I'm in Power BI. If you didn't see that, I will now get data. But in order to get data, I will also need my connection string. And the connection string is on the database level. This is database level of the database. And in the middle, you will see two, do you call them URIs or URLs? I always call them URLs, but yeah, I think it's the spelling error. So query URI, if I copy this one to my clipboard, and in the get data part in Power BI, I search for Kusto. I can't still search for real-time intelligence. I would hope that will happen somewhere, in a while. This connector is the connector built by the real-time intelligence team for Power BI. Selected, next. Also, I just copy that from my connection string and I can paste it there. I don't remember this, so it's just things. If I don't do anything now, it will start to import all my data. I don't want that. And I think I've said that 5 times now. In the bottom of this connection string, connection configurator, the data connectivity mode. Please select directory. Hit OK. Because now Power BI just reads a subset of the data to taste all the data types, and it returns the metadata for me. Yes. So the question was that the direct query connector tends to have a 1 million gap, 1 million row gap. That is correct for all other connections than the Kusto connector. For one reason, all other connectors than the Kusto connector is built by the Power BI team. The Kusto connector is built by the Kusto team. No, because they know how to handle many rows in a connector and how to query those in the engine. So with that, now I'm presented with my database name and an arbitrary tweets of something. And if I unfold, I will see my tables. This is my New York City taxi table. As in any other Power Query startup thing, I'll get a subset of the data, and I can now begin to transform it. And for some reason, sometimes my Power Query window does not show. There you go. It did show today. Thank you for that. And now I can begin to manipulate the data as I would any other data set in Power BI. Just to give you an example of another way to learn Kusto is actually by the Power Query. So if you are the champion of Power Queries, you can learn Kusto using Power Query also. Actually, from a bit of things that we just heard earlier today. I will show you this. Add a column, a custom column, and only for demo purposes, because this won't make sense, I'll just add the year of whatever pickup time. Of pickup time, and the format for that is date dot year, and then the intelligence is breaking my coding here, date dot year, from the pickup time, if I can find it. There you go. Nothing. Whoa. Sorry. Nothing fancy. Just a Power Query. It's something for something. Then I add that, and then I'm getting a new column with the year of the pickup time. When I'm done with my Power Query things, if I still use the really query stuff, I'm doing query folding, and I can learn Kusto. Because this is the Kusto statement. So 2 ways of learning Kusto, either through your SQL skills, Ninja things, or through your Power BI skills. Whatever makes you happy, it's fine, because you get the same results. Many things that you do in Power Query actually query folds back to Kusto engine more than will query fold back to SQL engine, because the Kusto product team made the Kusto connector, whereas the Power BI team made all the rest. And there you go. Now I lost the Power Query window, and I will close and apply. Again, I'm handling 1.6 billion rows. It's only reading the metadata and a subset of the data to taste all the data types. It's just a wire from here. Yeah. There you go. And these are data claims. And let me see if I can put in I have a file amount by, I don't know, by event ID. 1.6 billion rows in a direct query mode in Power BI. Normally it doesn't take that long, but there you go. 1.6 billion rows in Power BI in a direct query mode. I haven't seen this being done in a SQL server that fast ever. And these are raw data sets just imported, as you saw from my New York City. It's actually 1.6 billion rows. It can't be done faster, but this was just the initial things. Can I get this to work in Power BI? Yes, if I had 100 billion rows, it would be the same thing. But what would I say? Yes. So back to the Power BI. Any questions, comments? Oh, okay. In the back. Yeah. I'm just Windows authenticated. But I can do token authentication. I can do 3 or 4 or 5 other authentication modes. But I just defaulted to my Windows. Yeah. Yeah. I just got it started. Next question. Yeah, sure. I can repeat. So we have a question here that if I were to start learning data analytics, should I learn Kusto or should I prioritize SQL something else before that? Yeah. Good question. I'm a Kusto kind of guy, but I would actually start by learning data modeling. Where do we need to go? And then if you know your data modeling and if you know how to break down problems into smaller chunks, it doesn't matter the language. The language is just a dialect, because Kusto is way easy to learn. It is way more easy than PowerShell or SQL. So put that last, because if you know your SQL, I just showed you can translate that to KQL. So I would go that last. Yeah, sure. Any other questions? I saw another. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You understand that question? So let me try to re-ask what you just asked me. So is there a reason why we don't use semantic models for Kusto data instead of connecting directly to the data? Is that your question? Oh, yeah. Yes. Is there a reason not to do semantic models which does directly to the cake? Yes, there is. Because the new semantic models tries to hash and keep the data in memory in Fabric with the direct lake connector. And in order to get that direct lake connector into the semantic model, you need a mirroring of your Kusto data out to one lake. The architecture drawing I just showed you. If you do that, then you have a latency of around 2 or 3 seconds. Sometimes the business cannot accept that. If we have predictive maintenance and stuff, we need to know now if the windmill wings will fall off, right? Not in half an hour. So it depends on the business needs, but I would always go directly to the Kusto engine for real-time data outside of the semantic model. Does it make sense? We can take it afterwards. Yeah, sure. Good question. So what business? Yeah. So what business problems do we solve with this solution or with this technology? It is used widely in airports to do horde movement of people, because in airports we need to have an effective distribution of people in the airport. We don't need all the people standing at the gates waiting for their airplane to leave in 3 hours. It is way more cost effective to have them wandering around in all the shop area to use all the money, right? So the airports are actually using this technology and live webcams and tracking sensors in the floor to figure out where do we have a lot of people live, and then if you sometimes look at the boarding charts, boarding screens, you sometimes see gate will be shown in 60 minutes or something. Then sometimes you will see that gate before actually being scheduled. That is because the airport is live tracking where are people and do we need to move people out of this area because they are being too crowded. That is one solution. And then again, I would like to mention the predictive maintenance, windmills, cars. I get phone calls from my car manufacturer if my car is beginning to break down. Then they call me saying, we need to fix one nut instead of you need a new engine. So they call me saying, can you come by tomorrow? We just fix this and then you won't have to buy a new turbocharger for your car worth, I don't know, $2,000 or something. So it is based a lot of if you need insights now and you need it on a streaming data set, you are a positive candidate of this technology. Yes. Because until two weeks ago, we could not do updates, we could not do deletes. It is not meant for updates and deletes. They had a massive customer group asking them, can we please get updates and deletes to this database because we need it. But as the beginning of 10 years ago and up until 2 weeks ago, we could not do updates and deletes. So we couldn't do a slow change dimension type 2. We couldn't do dimension updates. We couldn't do delta loading. We could only get data, select it, and return it. Yeah. But now we have updates and deletes, but I will still encourage you not to build a data warehouse here because it is not meant for star schema modeling. In a few slides, I will break your mind. Just keep reading, okay? Yes. Sorry. So for updates? So for updates, are there any limitation on the record number? No. It just consumes a lot of compute from your cluster. Do also do updates, yes. Yes. Are there other ways to visualize Kusto data without moving into Power BI? Yes. Real-time analytics, real-time dashboards was announced 2 days ago. I'm sorry, I don't have a demo, but I have another script I'll show you in a few seconds. Yes. Uh-oh. You pay for the storage as you pay in OneDrive. Sorry, OneDisk. $23 per terabyte per month storage. And then you pay for the compute, and the compute is not cheap here because the Kusto engine is highly parallel. So even though you see perhaps a waiting time of 1 second, you might pay like 25 compute seconds for that 1 second. And every fabric capacity is based out of compute seconds. So you do the math, right? What I'm showing you here, it is not a silver bullet. It is on an F128 cluster. So it is quite powerful. Yeah, but I have seen this demo being done on an F4. It takes a bit longer, but not that actually not surprisingly not that long. Last question, then I'll move on. Yes. Costing, yeah. You guess. No, sorry. You can figure out what it costs. When I run a query, I can show you that in a second. or in a minute, you get some performance counters called stats. Those stats gives you the what kind of compute seconds have I paid in my cluster for this query. And then you can do some estimations, but the best thing to do is actually to install the Fabric Capacity Metrics app in your Fabric workspace. And then based on that, do your calculations on what does my Fabric cost and what does real-time analytics cost. If I open that app in my tenant now, you will see 90% of the cost is real-time, and something is the rest, because I do a lot of real-time. If I open an ordinary company's tenant, I will see a normal distribution of stuff with real-time, perhaps 10 or 20% of that. So it depends on the amount of data you have, how often do you need to query it, and all that stuff. It is quite difficult to estimate the cost in Fabric for anything. So, but just know that even though you see 1 second of waiting time, you might pay for 25 compute seconds or more for that query. Great. So I'm not Spider-Man, but I'll try. There we go. This is one cluster query, just for reference when you download the Power BI, sorry, the Streamevent. And one thing to bear in mind here is that I can actually have more where clauses. Because as I just showed you in the beginning, every row of code is its own resource set. So I can have 1,000 where clauses. It doesn't matter. It's fine, because it is just a resource set for every line I have. I can also do many where clauses in the same line, of course, but you can have many where clauses, you can have many groupings, you can have many summarizations, all that stuff. It just works out of the box. So the merits of Power BI, I told you that, but I didn't told you this one. Forget everything you know about performance versus data types and data modeling perspectives. Enough learned it, and I just told you to learn it. No, the Kusto engine is so powerful, so you don't need a star schema. You don't need a third normal form. You don't need a data vault or whatever data modeling principles you are using, of the spokes or wherever we are. No, that is because of the yes, a single reporting. Can be good option if you can include all columns and dimensions to a table, because the Kusto engine is built on a. If you look at it in a logical way, I get an event as a record from a streaming device. That record is just one line of code. It is not coming in 3 different chunks because I have 3 dimensions and effect table. It comes in one line. So the Kusto engine is actually built based on what the data is coming in. And it is indexing everything. It is indexing all the columns that you have. And if I really need a data model, a star schema in Power BI, you will see many-to-many relationships. Am I boring? You will see many-to-many relationships when you do your connections, because we do direct query mode, and the direct query mode cannot read the uniqueness of each column, so it's not default back to many-to-many. But that's fine, because everything you do will be translated into KQL, query folded, and the engine will actually do that for you. If you have dimensions, tag them as estimation equal true. In the connection, if I have time, I'll show you. If you have dimensions smaller than 1 million rows, it might be more effective to import them. And integer and decimal are slow joins compared to strings. What? What the hell? Okay. Integer and decimals are the fallback for the SQL engine, because the SQL engine was not built for joins. So Microsoft figured out, okay, we need to do something. So, okay, if you do big int decimal, you do first join. If you join on a string, to effect. But the Kusto engine is actually hashing all the strings into a dictionary, but it cannot hash the integers. So the joins on strings are way faster than integers and decimals. Just know this and accept it, and perhaps your mind will be. I know, I just told you, I will hide you in a few seconds. So, yeah. Okay? How many of you knows this guy? He-Man, right? Johnny knows him. So he has the power of not Grayskull, but Kusto. Let Power BI build the KQL in Power Query. I just showed you that using DAX. DAX is also query faulted back to the engine. Quite neat because the Kusto team built the Kusto connected to Power BI. Or build a Kusto function. What is a Kusto function? A Kusto function is just a stored procedure in Kusto. It's just a predefined select statement where I can put in parameters and then I get a resource set back. It's called a function, but it is not a function in SQL. It's a stored procedure in SQL, and now it's a function. Before I showed you this. This is only for reference. Please select direct query. Functions are equivalent to stored procedures. Blah, 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 blah. I'll show you this now. A function in how long time do I have, Johnny? 5 minutes. Wow. Okay. It's fine. Thank you. Thank you. I have cheated a bit, and I've already built a function. The function is right here. It is called getSysLogs. Logs in the system is always a lot of rows, but there's a problem here because in tables I have this three-dot menu where I can do get data, view files, rename, whatever, but I don't have anything here. So I can't see the code behind this. So I need to know my KQL. KQL also has a lot of metadata discovery. So I can actually just show function and then get syslogs. Execute this one, and lo and behold, there you go. This is the function. Yeah, we love it. This is the function. Name get syslogs. It accepts 2 parameters, time window and bucket. I'll get back to those in a second. Then it connects to a cluster called help. This is a free cluster from Microsoft. If you don't have any cluster data, you can just connect to the help cluster, just write help in the connector string, and you're good to go. It's free. It's read-only, and then you get a lot of demo data. It has a database called sample logs, and I'm connecting to the table called raw syslogs. Now back to the parameters. The time window is an input statement that accepts a string. The time window is used in the first where clause right here. Time window. What is happening? Well, in Kusto, I don't need to know stuff. I can just be lazy. I don't need to know what date it is today because I can always translate whatever string I'm putting in the right syntax into a time span. So give me data 5 days ago, that's 5D. Give me data 1 year ago, 1Y. Give me data 1 minute ago, 1M, and so forth and so forth and so forth. So the time window accepts a string. I can type in 300D, and then I get data 300 days ago based on this where statement. Does it make sense? Right. And then I do a simple summarization. This is just a group by, a log count by rows, by name. That's easy. And then this one. What is he doing, that Brian stuff there? Now we are getting back to the bucket parameter. The bucket parameter is actually tied, this one, is tied to the time window. Imaginary that I've now, in the time window, I put in 300 days. I would like to group that by 10 days. Or, sorry, in buckets of 10. So in the time window, I write 300D. In the bucket, I write 10D. So now I get 30 buckets of 10 days. So now I can, and I use, as an end user, I can now select the window of data I get, and I can also select the granularity of where I get data in return. Try to do that in SQL. It's not possible. And then just I do an order by because just to show you that Kusto can do stuff right here. If I connect to that in Power BI and write Kusto, data explorer, next. Why didn't I get the question? Can I do cross-cluster queries? Because I'm connecting to my own Fabric cluster, but I'm actually doing the query on the help cluster. That is also possible. If you have access to another cluster outside in the world, just connect to your own cluster, and you can actually do cross-cluster, cross-tenant, what do you call it, queries, as long as you have access to it. It's quite nice. So this function is stored in my cluster, but it accesses the read-only help feature from Microsoft. It's nice. And the cluster is in my somewhere. This one. Again, I'll select directory. And this one, and this is the function. Get syslogs. It has this beautiful effects. Selected, and instantly I'm told this have two parameters: time window and bucket. Got it. Time window 500 days, and the bucket is 30 days. Apply. Here I'm juggling 60 billion rows. The resource set is there already. And look here, if I can show you, I think I can. This is the first bucket right there. And 30 days later is the 21st of January, 23. That's the next bucket. Sorry, that is the next bucket. So if you want a bucket of 1 second, you'll just get a whole lot of rows. But it's up to you to choose your granularity. Load it. And when you page, go. Come on. There you go. All this and this. Okay, I have a question for you. Just keep your tongue straight in the mouth. This is the name of the resource set. In the name column in the resource set, it returns, I don't know, 2, 4, 6, 12 rows. It's fine. Now I'm adding the timestamp. You just saw that timestamp in the example. What happens? Any suggestions? Why is Power BI not rendering? Yeah, why? Timestamp was here in 30 days. No. You are close. In Power BI, if I have not added a column that no, if I'm not adding a calculation column, a column that can be summarized, Power BI does a Cartesian product between the two columns, and each visualization in Power BI can only handle 30,000 rows. Stop. Period. So 12 times, I don't know, is more than 30,000 rows. So if I add the log count to it, I can breathe again because then I can see the data. This subset is juggling a whole lot of rows. 547 million rows. If you would like the end user to be able to change your parameters, right now the parameters is hard-coded into Power Query. Which web has made a blog post on how to do that. I don't have time to it, but you can actually make the parameters available for the end users, so you can expose the input to this function to the end user, so they select the time window they are looking at, and the bucket, the aggregation, the granularity in which they get the results back. Imagine the possibilities here. It's endless. Out of this world. Great. This is for your reference on how to do that. And again, something is rotten in the country of. There you go. Who asked the rendering question? If I could use data in another, was you? Yeah. Now I'll go outside of this and I will copy this very, very fastly. And I will go into the other window and there. So the question from the audience was, do I have any other possibilities than Power BI and real-time dashboarding to do visualizations in Kusto? Yes, directly in your query set. Look here. Here I'm using I'm using the render command to render a time chart with a title and an X title and a Y title based on a data set on the New York City taxi. Run. And there you go. Rendering directly in a web service in a query window.